What's up, B Squad? It is your boy JB, and we are here today, you guys, with a brand new review for Reasonable Doubt Season 2, Episode 6. This episode is titled This Can't Be Life, you guys. Now, before we do get into the review, if you guys are watching this video or any other video on the channel and you guys aren't subscribed yet, I need you guys to do me a solid favor and stop taking me out on this date and having me pay for it at the end of it. You guys know the routine. You can do me that favor by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, turning on your post notifications, and also by sharing the video, you guys. And with that out of the way, without further ado, let us go ahead and get into this episode of Reasonable Doubt, shall we? All right, you guys. So this episode, wow. I don't even know where to start. Well, I know where to start, but I don't even know what to say when it comes to this episode. So we open up the episode where we left off last week, and you guys remember Jax went to go see Adrian, right? So Adrian pulls out the gun on Jax and told her to sit down, and she was like, "Yeah, bro, man, I ain't finna be sitting down. My PI is sitting outside, and I gave him his direct orders that if he doesn't hear from me for every 6 minutes, to call the police. So looking at the clock, you got about 4 minutes before he calls the police, right?" So she asked him, like, how deep are you involved with this gambling ring? And he said, how much do you know? She says, I know a good amount, right? She said, I know more than you think. And he said, then that's the damn problem right there. He said, he's talking about Evan, and he's telling her that Evan has gotten into Chanel's head, and he told her that you need to stop looking into this shit, right? And she's like, I can help you, Adrian. So he was like, you know what? He wants an immunity deal. And until he gets his deal, he ain't saying nothing else. And I was like, okay, cool. So then we see as Jax got back home, because while she was there, she was having a little bit of a panic attack. And so when she got home, she full blown had a panic attack with the side of a drink, right? So then she followed that up with wanting to go into bed with Lewis and, get it on with Lewis. But unfortunately, because she was like, all I want is your dick in my mouth. And I was like, oh, wow, Jax. Okay. But unfortunately, Lewis couldn't get it up. So he went down on her instead. Now, the next day we see as Daniel is talking to the team and telling them what he's found out, right? So he's telling him that Adrian told him on the way to the safe house the night before, that he said that, JT was afraid of, this whole gambling ring coming that would trace back to him. So what he ended up doing was he opened up the account. He put Chanel. He told Chanel that it was a trust for the girls. So that's how he got Chanel to sign it. But Chanel knew nothing about it, right? And so Corey is telling them that Miss Hardass, aka Lucy, has basically put Adrian on the witness list. And the whole thing with her is they're talking about what Lucy is probably thinking, right? That she can get Adrian on the stand, get Adrian to confess to having an affair with Chanel, also have him corroborate that Chanel knew about the this 30, that 30, the money, right? But it's not going to happen. So the thing that Jax wants is for Adrian to get Adrian on the stand, get him to get to the cross, and have him own up to the fact that he is the one that took out JT. And Corey is like, why would he do that? She thinks he's trying to win Chanel back and get Chanel back in his good graces. So she just said, listen to me, and if you don't like it, then fine. So she wants this to, actually make, be in Chanel's defense, right? So that they can get him on the stand, like I said, get him to admit to unaliving JT. Also, she wants it to be able to confirm that Chanel knew nothing about the money. She also wants him to talk about how, confirm how bad the abuse was when it comes to JT. She was like, fuck Evan. She said, we'll take him down, but we want to make Adrian feel like he's safe. So then we see Ms. Hardass, and she's going over her questions in her car, and she's getting ready to take her son to school, right? And so she starts the car up when her son gets in the car, only to find out that her tire had been slashed, right? So her son called for an Uber, and she was late to court. So when they get to court, they're playing the 911 call from Chanel. So you guys know the defense, the prosecutors, they're playing it up that Chanel was really only doing the 911 call just to get the body away from her. And, then Corey them came back with a rebuttal, right? So after that, they questioned a realtor. So once again, Lucy is trying to paint it like Chanel, planned this out, that she was going to take out JT, she was going to get a new house and start a new life, right? But then Corey cross-examined the realtor to ask. Actually, it was Jax, I believe, who cross-examined the realtor, asking the realtor. No, it was Corey, asking her like, "Do you know what the value of the home is that Chanel shares with JT?" She says no. So Corey told her how much the house was, and he asked her like, "How much is this house?" So the house that she showed her was $3 million, right? She was getting ready to draw up a contract, but she never heard anything from Chanel. This is when Miss Hardass was questioning her, and she said, "And then we know the rest, right?" So then, like I said, Corey is saying basically, so she was looking at a house that's less than in value than the one that she currently shares with JT. And they asked the question, did she ever, mention the kids? This is Jax. And she was like, yeah, she mentioned her daughters, right? And so that's that. Now, here's a little segue real quick, you guys, because I know a lot of people in my comments think that Chanel is protecting Sally. I still don't believe that it's Sally, you guys. I really do believe it's one of the kids. And here's the thing. Here's the reason why I say it's one of the kids. Yes, I know that they're leading us with the whole Sally putting up her home as collateral for her to get out. I think Sally knows more than what she's saying. That's what I think it is with Sally. Sally probably does feel some guilt. She probably feels guilt because she wasn't able to help her cousin at that time that she needed her. So this is essentially her way of helping her cousin. I don't think Sally has any guilt, and I don't think Chanel would, have any. And I mean, yes, it's her family, but I think Chanel would fess up if it was Sally. I think it's one of her daughters. I really do, and it might be the youngest one. It could be the youngest, but my money is more so on the oldest one. So after this, we see Jax. So Jax went to go see the therapist, right? So the therapist asked her, is the medication working? And Jax says, yes, it's good. And she says, how are you and Lewis? She says, Lewis and I are good. She said, and you're in court. She said, we're making strides. So then she said, so what are you doing here? And Jax said, well, she feels like, she's waiting for the other shoe to drop and that everything is just too good to be true. And so the therapist told Jax, like, you need to get out of your head. What you need to do is savor the moment and enjoy every moment that's coming, right? I was like, Jax ain't wrong because the shoe was about to drop. Dominique, I know how you feel about Lewis, but yeah, we finna talk about Lewis. So let's go ahead and get into Lewis. Lewis is a dumbass. Oh my God, I get it. Lewis don't want to potentially be a deadbeat daddy to Tony's child. I get it. It's commendable. But Tony literally gave you an out, my nigga. So this man sees Tony, tells Tony that he wants to know the paternity of the baby. I was like, you have got to be the stupidest person on the face of the earth. Like, what in the hell, Lewis? So Lewis is telling her that he got a doctor and they can go to the doctor. She's like, Lewis, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not risking the baby. He's like, I can understand that it was 10 years ago. But she was like, you know what? I'm free. Let's go. Also, you guys, my bad. I skipped over two scenes before we got to the therapist. Little Naima. Little Naima, in that room with that little shirt on, tied up like a little crop top. They got a problem on their hands with little girl, little mama. And then she, Spencer saw her and said he was gonna tell, their parents. And she's like, I'll tell them about your secret stash in your in your dresser. And so he left it alone. I was like, oh wow. Both y'all kids a little rambunctious, but I mean with Spencer, he's a teenage boy, so I would expect him to have some. I'm pretty sure it's some nude magazines. I would expect him to have some because I mean at that age, he's in high school, right? So he's between 6, 15, 6, 14, 15, 16, somewhere around there. Baby, All teenage boys go through that phase. So it is what it is, right? So Jackson Corey, right? This scene right here had me because they were talking about the jury and how some of them are more leaning toward Lucy's theory, right? So Jax apologized to Corey for pushing back on his instincts. So I noticed they were both getting closer to each other. I was like, oh no, they about to get it in. So they got closer and closer and closer. Then you hear Usher's "Can You Handle It" playing in the background. I was like, oh my God. So they started kissing and taking each other's clothes off, and he put her on the table. I was like, I know y'all not about to do it. And nope, they weren't, because it's Corey having a fantasy about Jax. I was like, I knew it was gonna happen. I knew Corey had feelings for Jax, right? So now we move back on track to the episode. So Daniel found more information on Evan, who is actually doing child trafficking, and I was like, ew. So they're at the courthouse, and no, they're in the office. But Corey is visibly uncomfortable with Jax, right? No, they're at the courthouse because Corey's dad came to see him in court, right? So on the stand, we have one of JT's coaches. So JT's coach is talking about a night where it was a bye week, and they overheard Chanel saying "fuck you, Jamarian." She's hitting him on the chest, and she's scratching his face up, right? So this looks like Chanel is the abusive one, and not JT. But then Corey got up and he was like, "Okay, so didn't you say that about another player that he wouldn't hurt a fly?" He was like, "Yep." And so didn't he also get found guilty of unaliving his wife? He said, "Arrest my case," because the guy said yes, and he said, "I arrest my case," right? So then we see as Jeremiah, who is Corey's dad, wants to take Corey and Jax out to lunch, and Corey, however, is against it, right? So after that, we see Adrian. So Adrian met up with Evan, and he's telling him that Jax has backed off, and he's like, "What made the bitch back off?" And he was like, "The fact that she cares about Chanel, and I had to tell her you don't, right?" So then he told Evan that the prosecutor has called him to the stand. So he said, "So don't tell me that you're gonna grow some balls and go on the stand and tell them exactly what happened." And what's his name? Age was like, "Why the fuck would I do that?" He said, "Good, because I won't have to chop him off." So then we see Jax and Jeremiah. So they're at the lunch and they're hitting it off, right. And so Corey got up to go take a phone call, and like father, like son, they both have a little thing for Jax, but Jeremiah took it a little further, asking her, has she ever been with an older man? She's like, "Yeah, my husband, but he's older than me by what, 3 months or something like that. 3 months, 3 years, something like it was three. I do remember that. But he was hitting on her, and she was like, "Oh, no, I'm not interested in that. I'm very much a married woman." So not Jeremiah, but Corey came back to the table, and Jax, she ended up leaving, and Crystal called her. She's like, "Girl, you'll never believe what happened." But Crystal was telling her that her mom was in the hospital. So we see Jackson went down to the hospital to check on her mom. So her mom was doing intermittent fasting, and she ended up in the hospital because her and her boyfriend are going on a cruise, and she just wanted to lose a little bit of weight. And Jax was like, "Mom, you don't have to do anything for a man." And she's like, "Well, Jacqueline, you have Lewis." I was like, "For how much longer is that gonna last?" Oh, girl, I can see the writings on the wall. Now that Jax knows about Tony, which we'll get to that a little bit later, but she gonna smash Corey. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. But Jax told her mama that she's gonna stay with her for the rest of the day. Now we see Daniel and Crystal. They're over at the country club, right, trying to get information on Evan. And then one of the valet guys, he was taking a little liking to Crystal, right? And so Daniel pulled Crystal aside. He was like, "Crystal, we can use this to our advantage." And she was like, "I am a married woman to another woman." But then he mentioned about them making a movie. And she's like, "You know what?" She went over and started flirting with the man. I was like, leave it to Crystal to get talked about a movie for her to go over there and do it, right? So we see as Corey called to check on Jax, right? And she told him, her mom is good. So she told him about his dad hitting on her. And he said, she said, "It's okay." He said, "No, it's not okay." She said, "It's not okay, but I'm okay," right? So then she got off the phone with Corey because she saw Lewis leaving the hospital. So she called Lewis on the phone. Lewis ignored her call. Then she called back and he answered. And she's like, she was gonna say, "I see you," but then he lied, saying that he was at the office. And so Jax is like, "Oh well, I was just calling to say hi." So then we see JT's mom. So JT's mom is with Lucy's boss, right? And basically trying to play hardball, talking about, you know, telling him that he needs to win this case if he wants a chance at getting reelected, right? So Lucy came in, found out they lost another juror who was leaning in their direction. Lucy's getting DEATH threats. And he told her that her tires were slashed when he asked her why she was late to court today. Now, we see Jax got home, and so Lewis told Jax that they need to talk. I was like, "Oh, you finna tell her about Tony?" Nope, it's about Naima. So Naima has a secret social media account, and they ended up taking her phone for a whole week, right? So then Jax got in bed with Lewis and asked him, like, "Is everything okay with you?" He was like, "Yep, just had a long day." So then after that, we see Jax and Autumn. So they're out running. And, Autumn is asking Jax about the case. She said every day is different. So Autumn asked if she still think Adrian did it. And Jax is like, yes. So Jax also told her about, the situation with Lewis and how she saw Lewis at the hospital and she called him. He ignored her at first, but then she called him again. He answered and he lied to her. So Autumn's whole thing is, well, maybe it's a situation of he something's going on with him and he's just not ready to tell you. So give him a little grace. I was like, girl, he definitely got something going on that he don't want to tell her, but it ain't nothing medically wrong with him. But okay, go off. So then we see Corey. So Corey is talking to his dad, right, about that other case that he has because he wants his dad's help. But his dad wants him to basically make a name for himself in order for him to help him. Then they also mentioned about Corey not being married because Corey was like he was engaged 10 years ago, and since then he's just been focused on his career. His dad was like, you know what, um, he'll do better with him, right? So after that, we see Daniel. So Daniel's at the court at with Jax at the courthouse, telling Jax that everyone at the country club, baby, they hate Evan and they are ready to take him down. He said, you know what, I can get some statements so that way we can present it to the present it to the FBI. And Jack's like, hold on, let's see how this plays out, right? So we go into the court and Adrian's on the stand, right? So Lucy is questioning him about the affair that he had with Chanel, right? And she also has some letters that he wrote. And she's like, so in these letters, was Chanel asking you to help her? And he said, yes. So then Jax got up, right? And so Jax said, so why was Chanel writing you letters as opposed to texting you? And he was like, well, because JT was monitoring her so bad, so closely. So they did that. So she said, basically, you were protecting her. He said, yes. So then she says, did you ever witness JT abuse Chanel? He said, yes. It was one time where he grabbed her very hard. And so she was like, so did you take out JT? He was like, huh? And so Chanel asked Corey, like, what is she doing? So then he said, no, but I wish that I did take him out, right? So then he went on to say that Chanel knew nothing about the money that, you know, the money actually belongs to a gambling company called Will Goose that belongs to both Evan and JT. So one of Evan's guys is out there in the gallery and he's listening, and he gets up and walks out. Right. So then, you know, Jax rests her case, right, and so she went and sat down, and Chanel said, "Jax, what the hell was that?" And she was like, "He wanted me to do that." So then after that, we see Jax and Daniel. So they went to go give the prosecutors the information, and they're like, "Why are you giving this to us instead of the FBI?" And Jax was like, "Well, I'm giving this to you as a it's a win for you guys, and it's going to be the only win that I give you guys." She said, "But in return for this, Adrian wants witness protection, and he wants immunity." So they agreed to give him both of those things, right? And we saw in the news as Evan and his guy were being arrested, and we found out that Adrian is safe. So then Jax went to go have a conversation with Crystal, And then their version of TMZ had posted a photo of Tony at the hospital. So Jax took the phone and looked at the phone, and child, she saw her husband in the picture. I was like, damn it, Lewis, you dumb fool. My God, today Lewis is so stupid. Like, why would you do that? Because she zoomed in on that picture. She saw that his wrist wrapped up, and she saw that hot top fade of his. I was like, yep, girl, that is your husband. That is your husband. So then we saw as this man is following Lucy around. We saw Corey at the bar thinking about Jax. And then we see Jax, she at home smoking, right? Looking at the photo of Lewis's dumb behind again, right? So I think he was on the phone with Tony, or he could have been on the phone with his brother, but he said, I'm gonna tell Jax the truth tonight. And so he went home to tell Jax. He went. He's like, I got something to tell you. She said, is it about Tony? She said, that baby's yours in it. And he said, I can explain. And that is where the episode ended, you guys. Like, wow. Lewis, I get it. You don't want to be a potential deadbeat daddy, but dude, Tony literally gave you an out. And what if, here's the thing, Lewis, what if this baby is not yours? You just fucked up your marriage for no reason. My God, today, just dumb, just dumb, just dumb. But that's the episode, you guys. Let me know what you guys thought about it down in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel, turn on your post notifications, and share the video, you guys. Until next time, stay safe, you guys. Take care of yourselves. Wash your hands. Be blessed. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys. So next up will be Power Book 2 Ghost on Sunday. And then the Braxtons and Love After Lockup either tonight or tomorrow morning. But I'll see you guys in those videos. Bye, guys.